Well, welcome to the Spark series, where we ignite conversations with innovators, entrepreneurs, and changemakers creating real impact. Our goal is to spark ideas, share journeys, and inspire action. My name is Jason Williams, CEO for the Society of Innovators. And in this episode, we look forward to discussing new venture development with a focus on prototyping, testing, refining based on customer input, and then finally launching and scaling a successful business. I'm excited to welcome today's Spark Series guest, Allyson Straka, the founder and CEO of Frozen Garden. Allyson founded Frozen Garden in 2016 with a simple idea: make it easy for people to eat more fruits and vegetables without the added sugars, powders, or gimmicks. What started as a small batch smoothie pack has grown into a $4 million company with a full line of plant-based products, including garden bowls and overnight oats. As a 2017 Society of Innovators inductee, Allyson has built a brand rooted in health, sustainability, and creative problem solving. Allyson, thank you for joining us today. Let's jump right in.
All right, thank you.
Frozen Garden, you've developed quite a catalog now of different products. If you had to pick one Frozen Garden item to live on for an entire week, what would it be?
For sure, smoothies.
Okay.
I literally cannot function. I've had a smoothie every day for 22 years or something. So I cannot function unless I have my smoothie every day.
Okay, well then maybe not to live on for a week then. Just let's be specific. What is your favorite smoothie recipe or your favorite smoothie?
I tend to like the seasonal ones that we release just because they're like around for a short period of time. So we literally today are releasing our fall seasonal flavors, and we have a new one called Spiced Orange. That is my new obsession.
Okay, it's no pumpkin spice.
We have well,
Okay.
it's Spiced Orange. It has pumpkin in it.
Okay.
But it's almost like an orange sickle kind of a taste to it. I don't know. I really like it.
So you brought some treats for us. So what do you have? Can you give us a little show and tell on what we have here from
So I
Frozen
have
Garden?
Dreamy Dragon and Spiced Pear. The Dreamy Dragon main flavors are dragon fruit, but we also have raisins in there, which is kind of a fun little treat in there. And then Spiced Pear is it's got pears, apples, cinnamon, nutmeg, kind of also a fall kind of flavory thing. So yeah, you just dump them in a blender, add water and blend, and you have a complete smoothie in 60 seconds.
With the packaging, so my understanding is Frozen Garden has gone through some rebranding and packaging design. Talk about the packaging and how this has come about.
Yes, so this is all brand new packaging, whole new rebrand, whole new look. We, about 8 months ago, created a strategic equity partnership with We Create Media, which is also a local Northwest Indiana company, because we had determined that the side of the business that we were sorely missing was the marketing arm of Frozen Garden. I'm really strong in operations and finance, but marketing was not my jam, and I've been trying to do marketing for 8 years on my own. So brought in the big guns, the real people, and I learned a lot about packaging then. I remember very specifically having a conversation of, why do we need to redesign the packaging? We're not in grocery stores anymore. Like, what does it matter what it looks like?
Right.
And Wade said, the only thing that the customer is touching every time they open the freezer and grabbing is the packaging. They're like, it's in their hands. And I was like, oh, that is kind of important. Yeah, that's like the closest. I'm like, it just needs to be the website. No, it's actually what they're touching every day and then making the smoothie from. So we got a brighter, a little bit more modern look, help us kind of stand out and run with some of the bigger brands instead of kind of our little in-house, do the best we can look we had going before then.
Okay, but I want to hit the rewind button.
Sure.
So let's go back. You didn't go to school to become a smoothie entrepreneur,
no.
right? And so take us back. What led to launching Frozen Garden and kind of that pivot in your career?
Sure. I did graduate from IU's Kelley School of Business.
Okay.
So a small business has always been something that I was very interested in. I started in technology. So I was always working for small startup software companies. Even one of ours got acquired, and I ended up at Microsoft, which was no longer a small company, but a very large conglomerate. And I learned very quickly that is not my wheelhouse. So I liked small business, small startups, because everything that I did every day had an immediate impact on the business. So I ended up staying at home for a bit when I had kids.
Okay.
And then started getting really into nutrition and real food, started a nutrition education company called Mindful Nourishment that was all about getting people back into their kitchens, making real food from scratch.
Okay.
But I would hear from my clients say the same thing all the time. They would go to the grocery store. They loved smoothies. They'd go to the grocery store, buy all this fresh produce with the intention of making smoothies, and then it would just rot in the fridge. So they're asking me to start a smoothie bar. And I was like, I don't want to start a smoothie bar. But I was talking to my dad about this. He said, if you could get your clients to do just one thing for their health, what would it be? I said, we'll drink a green smoothie every day. And he said, well, how do you make that easier for them? So literally that night, the name Frozen Garden came to mind. Literally the next day, I started testing and figuring out this concept of a frozen smoothie.
Now, fast forward back to the current, version of Frozen Garden. It's not just smoothies.
No.
Right? You have overnight oats, garden bowls. Delights is one of your product lines. I guess talk about that journey on the product side. How did you decide to expand into new categories, and how did that what did that process look like?
Yeah, so I mean, after we had built a really loyal following, a loyal customer base with our smoothies, we wanted to figure out how, yes, they drink a smoothie every morning. How could we touch them at lunch? How could we touch them at dinner? So what were some other things that we could launch so that they would have convenience throughout the day and not just with our smoothies? Then we did the overnight oats and the garden bowls and the delights. And so again, the overnight oats are another breakfast option. The garden bowls are a great lunch option. And then the delights are kind of your healthy dessert when you're having that like 9 p.m. sugar craving before bed. Yeah. Blend up a delight and then you have, no added sugar and instead just something that tastes like a delicious dessert.
As you were starting, what were some of the biggest hurdles you faced in gathering ingredients, gathering packaging, fulfilling orders? Talk about that a little bit as the company started to really grow some legs and grow.
Yeah. We ran into a lot where if you think about where you buy your ingredients, where you buy your packaging, all of this stuff, there's industries that sell to like restaurants. And then there's industries that sell to very, very large manufacturers. And there's not a whole lot in the middle. And that was probably the hardest thing, is there either be super high minimums or we were paying like restaurant prices or restaurant volume. So finding the companies that we were their niche was very hard, whether it came to shipping liners, like some shipping liners require a truckload minimum of one size. We're like, well, that's like 50,000 units. We don't need that right now. We need 1,000 units. So that was my biggest frustration in our early days. I think there's more companies now that start to gear towards that small to medium sized manufacturer, but not a lot.
As the business has evolved, your website has become a huge part of Frozen Garden's success and growth. How important has that website been for not only educating your customers, but also driving sales?
Well, the large majority of our revenue is direct to consumer. So our website that's how we're presenting our brand. We have to be able to present the brand to make it appealing and then want to buy it. And then we have to make it easy for them to purchase it. And so with this whole rebrand, with doing a whole new website refresh, it's not just the look and feel. We really wanted to figure out that entire customer experience from end to end. So the minute that they get on their site, what it takes to purchase, converting them into a subscription or keeping it as a one-time order, and then all the way to when they get the box at their doorstep and what it looks like. And so the website's our door. Right? We're getting them to the door. Now we have to sell them. So the website's by far the most important part of the business.
Yeah, that's really good. And not only important part of the business, I mean, this has helped you scale to over $4 million in annual revenue. So, not only the website, but, as you're starting to achieve this, kind of growth and this level of sales for the company, talk a little bit about, how you have to start systemizing some of your operations to not only, meet that growth, but also prepare for even more growth in the future.
Yeah, so we're still there's still a lot of manual stuff in our actual manufacturing process. Being frozen, there's a lot of challenges with using automated machinery and things like that. But I like to tell the story that when we first started Frozen Garden and first started doing our own manufacturing, we could produce 200 smoothies in a day with what we call a smoothie pod, which is a 3-man smoothie pod. 3 people in a smoothie pod. And today we have the exact same 3 people in the smoothie pod, but we produce 1,000 smoothies a day. And that's strictly on process. Ranging where things are within reach, how we set up, how we clean up so that we have maximum time to make smoothies. So that was just all with process. But in the more recent years, from just a general operations running a business, we utilize AI in all parts of our business. Large language models we use daily. I would say I'm interacting with one at least probably 2 hours a day. Everything from helping me put together financial stuff to putting together job descriptions and job postings for hiring, down to I've explained our shipping process and saying we can only ship X number of boxes with this process a day. How do we improve this? How can we double this? And so it's kind of like our fifth wheel employee, but we all of us utilize AI quite a bit.
So how have you achieved some of that growth, or maybe we say scale, right? How have you scaled your business as a startup while, so you needed capital or investment and funding to help, purchase some of those needs. How have you achieved that growth while maintaining your ownership, really your stake in the business?
Yeah. So I was the 100% owner for the first 8 years. So honestly, when first starting a business, sweat equity is going to be your best friend. Like you do everything because you are free. But then once at a certain point, once you get profitable, then the banks will start loaning to you as well. So once we got profitable, pulled out of grocery stores, got profitable, now all of a sudden mainstream banks are giving us loans because we're profitable. So it's kind of like the cart before the horse, but if you can start small, and you can even be profitable small and banks will still loan to you. It's if you're bleeding a bunch of cash that banks aren't, but ultimately after 8 years is when I decided that we were going to take outside investment for the first time. And part of it was that missing marketing piece with WeCreate. And then once we brought WeCreate on and kind of came up with what our growth strategy was, that's when we determined we were going to go ahead and get outside investment. If you are looking to take a company from a small business to a large scale, like several multi-million dollars in annual revenue, you have to invest in growth. And unfortunately, investing in growth does require cash.
It's been said, innovate or die, right? Continue to experiment and innovate within your business. So what does that look like for Frozen Garden? How do you continue to think about keeping your company relevant in the future? Whether that's new products, maybe it's internally, building efficiencies in, or, how do you deal with the food waste and the scraps you're producing, on the back end? I guess, again, what does innovation look like for Frozen Garden?
Yes, to me, innovation is just doing anything outside of the status quo.
Yeah.
So it's not falling into, well, that's what everyone else does, so that's how we should do it. From everything, not just ideas and new products, but how you operate your business. So we are very big on sustainability at Frozen Garden. As far as innovation with product lines, that's kind of like the obvious innovation. We don't kind of follow the trends so much as looking to where we can uniquely solve a pain point of our customer. And so it's not just about the next greatest trend where we can sell a bunch of stuff, but like what other problems are our customers who value real food? What other points could we help them make real food more convenient for them? So we're not always like looking at like the next powder from the Amazon that does X, Y, and Z. We're just trying to create convenient, real food.
What is something you would tell your younger self?
In all honesty, I wouldn't tell a lot because I think that going through life and going through those various challenges and roadblocks is what makes you who you are. But as a female entrepreneur who we're in the year 2025, you would think that we would be way more advanced than we are. So I would tell any younger female to advocate for yourself and demand things for yourself. That I think it comes a lot more naturally to men and it doesn't come as natural to women. And so that's the only thing I could say is like think like a female, but act like a male. If that makes sense. Demand it, but don't lose our female side of perspective.
Yeah, great advice.
Yeah.
Well, Allyson, thank you so much. Hey, that deserves another smoothie toast to wrap us up here. But thank you so much for taking the time to sit down. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.